Welcome back to another edition of NJCAA All Access. Today is Thursday, October 26th, and I'm Zach McKinstry.
I'm Alexa Wesselman, and we've got a lot happening across the NJCAA. Region championships are happening. Basketball starts in about a week. There's a ton going on.
It's a great time of year with the crossover season. Football is coming down to the wire as well. Here's what happened in the football world last weekend. There were only 5 games on Thursday, with the most notable being number 8 Mississippi Gulf Coast hanging on against East Central. The Warriors ended Northeast hopes at an undefeated season last week, and they nearly played spoiler again in the 28-24 final. Trey Hall got it done on the ground again for the Bulldogs, finishing with 151 total yards and a pair of touchdowns. Gulf Coast played from behind in the fourth quarter, but a 69-yard drive set up a 1-yard touchdown punched in by Chandler Chapman, which was the difference in the Mississippi South Division matchup. The most anticipated MACCC game happened on Saturday in a clash of North Division teams with playoff implications on the line. Number 15 Northeast Mississippi couldn't bounce back from their first loss against a hungry EMCC squad. The Lions were led by Ty Keys, who tallied 3 total touchdowns and over 320 total yards. After an interception on his first drive, Keys settled in nicely, resulting in 17 unanswered points for East Mississippi. 2 third-quarter touchdowns helped Buddy Stevens' side pull away, but back-to-back fourth-quarter scores kept the Tigers in it until a legal touching negated their onside kick recovery and sealed the game for the number 11 Lions. The win kept EMCC undefeated in the North, and they can clinch at least a share of the regular season division title with a win at Itawamba next week. In the Southwest, a pivotal meeting between number 3 Kilgore and number 4 Trinity Valley went the way of the Rangers thanks to the thriving connection between Cam Peters and Zeke Freeman. The sophomore wide receiver from Arlington tallied 182 yards on 5 receptions with a touchdown and a long of 51. Peters tossed touchdowns to 3 different receivers to get it done offensively, and defensively, the Rangers stifled the Cardinals' rushing attack and limited Trinity Valley to 3 points in the first 45 minutes in the 37-17 win. Number 5 Jones survived an upset bid against Southwest Mississippi. Number 6 Snow rolled Pacific Northwest, and number 12 Tyler added an impressive road win at Cisco. In Kansas, number 2 Iowa Western added its 4th one-score victory to stay undefeated in a 28-21 win over number 7 Butler. QB Hunter Watson did it all for the Reavers, meticulously throwing for 190 yards and rumbling for 107 more on the ground. He accounted for 75% of IDub's offense. The Grizzlies didn't roll over easy, though. After falling behind 28-7 at the half, a third-quarter punt block touchdown gave Butler some life, and a fourth-quarter score cut it to 7. The Grizzlies had one more chance and marched down to the 20-yard line, but a ball slipped out of the hands of a Butler wide receiver, and Clem McCullough's interception secured the win. The Reavers defense had 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 3 takeaways in the top 10 victory. Number 1 Hutch stayed perfect, but was given their closest contest of the year and a 9-point win over Garden City. In number 9, Iowa Central lost their second straight game when the Conquistadors of Dodge City went 97 yards in 2.5 minutes thanks to 2 explosive passes on their game-winning drive to pick up their first top 10 win in 8 years. In D3, number 5 Minnesota State CTC got upset in the first round of the MCAC playoffs by a 3-5 Central Lakes squad. And number 1 DuPage, number 3 North Dakota SCS, and number 4 Minnesota North Mesabi Range had no issues in Week 9 of D3 football. Lastly, number 3 LSU Eunice fell to number 17 West Texas College on Saturday in the final game ahead of regional championships in D1 men's soccer. Former JUCO game changer Hillary Hyen and number 4 Jones crafted a 3-0 win over number 1 Northwest Mississippi in D2 women's soccer. Number 6 Miami-Dade shocked number 1 Florida Southwestern State in a decisive 5th set to serve the Bucks their first loss of the season. And number 9 Richard Bland closed out their regular season winning 4 straight, including this 3-2 win over number 19 Cape Fear. A lot of those matchups down to the wire, and this whole season is down to the wire as we look at some important games coming up this weekend with Alexa.
All right, Zach, take a breath after all of those matchups from last week. There were a lot of them. We're going to look ahead to the matchups coming this week. We start with D1 football. Number 11, Tyler, at number 3, Kilgore. Tyler pulled off a win last week against Cisco despite being in a 2-touchdown deficit early on, but they have their work cut out for them in facing Kilgore. Kilgore defeated a then number 4 ranked Trinity Valley team easily last week. So it seems they may have shaken off whatever mistakes plagued them in their only loss this season to Navarro. Keeping in D1 football, number 14 Iowa Central at number 2 Iowa Western. It's the battle of the Iowas. These schools are about 2.5 hours from each other. Iowa Central coming off back-to-back losses from Butler and Dodge City. But don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that Iowa Western was ranked in the top 5. So they've fallen pretty far after those 2 losses. Iowa Western still showing up week in and week out, and it's going to take a lot to beat them. So we'll see how Iowa Central handles them. Switching over to men's soccer in D1, we've got number 20 Harcum at number 19 Monroe CC. This is the East District quarterfinal. Monroe only received their first loss last week to Monroe College, and Harcum also only has 1 loss, ironically, to Monroe College as well. So this should be a pretty even matchup. Staying in soccer, but moving over to women's, number 19 Laramie County at number 15 Western Wyoming. This is the Region 9 semifinal. Laramie County looking to win and go on to make their second appearance in the NJCAA National Tournament. The Western Wyoming Lady Mustangs haven't lost in a month, and they certainly want that to continue. Moving into Division I volleyball, number 14 Utah State Eastern at number 4 Salt Lake. These 2 teams have played each other already this season. Salt Lake walked away with that win 3-1, and Salt Lake hasn't lost since September 2nd. So they're going on 2 months of wins. Not only are they pushing to keep that streak alive, but Utah State will want a different outcome this time around. And finally, we've got our ESPN Plus Game of the Week. Number 12, Lackawanna at number 5, Snow. Lackawanna making the far trip out to Utah, which is a tough environment to play and win in. They only have 1 loss to Georgia Military this season. Snow has 2 losses, 1 to Trinity Valley and 1 to Iowa Western. So catch this game on ESPN Plus Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Those are some of the games that we'll be watching over the next week, but don't forget there's a lot of other big matchups as region championship play continues across the NJCAA. All right, Coach Aaron Arnold is joining us, and he's standing by to talk more D1 football storylines with Zach.
Thanks, Alexa. It's another show and another week we get to talk to a known lover of football and former coach in the NJCAA, Aaron Arnold. And Aaron, there are a few things better in sport than 2 hard-nosed defenses going head-to-head in college football. And we get a primetime matchup of the 2 best in the country this Saturday with number 1 Hutch, who's averaging 9.4 points against all season long through their 7 games. And then your former squad, Highland, who has allowed 7 points in 5 total games over their last 5 while leading the country with 23 takeaways, 6 defensive touchdowns. Just going to be a great matchup. Now, obviously, Highland has not faced anyone with the firepower of Hutch's offense, but what does this defense have to do to keep their offense in this game?
It's an intriguing matchup. Highland has a history of knocking off Hutch when they're a number 1 ranked team at Highland. We did it a couple times whenever I was there, and probably games that we shouldn't have won, but Highland has a big home field advantage that a lot of people don't think about. It's a small town. It's kind of a small stadium. The stadium's one-sided, so the visiting team sits over by themselves, and it's kind of quiet over there where they're at. And so sometimes you can kind of catch a team asleep a little bit and jump on them early. And so, I think that's a big advantage for Highland. To me, the key to the game, Highland's got to come out swinging, and they've got to land some big blows early on. I don't think they can go toe-to-toe and try to run the ball against Hutch, but if they can sneak a trick play in here and steal some yards there early on, it can be a huge advantage for them. Their offense has got to help their defense. Your defense is always at their best when they're standing on the sideline, and Highland's offense has got to do enough to go out and milk the clock and pick up first downs. I don't expect them to go out and score 30 points, but if they are 3 and out, that Hutch offense is just going to start to grind on them a little bit. Highland also has to win on special teams. That's where they can steal some points. If they can go block a kick, return a punt. Huge opportunities there for Highland, and they've got to steal some possessions with some turnovers. If they go out and are -3 in the turnover game, Highland doesn't have a chance. But if they're +3, they can get in there and mix it up with these guys. I think in the end, Hutch has got a little too much firepower. They've got a little bit too much depth. What I would expect to see happen is a close game early on, and as the game continues to go late into the third and fourth quarter, I would expect that you would see the Blue Dragons wear them down and leave with a win. But I think it'll be close. It's hard to blow out a team that has a great defense, and Highland definitely has that.
Yeah, and Hutch finally looked human for the first time in what seems like forever with their game against Garden City last week. Closest game they've played this year. I think it was 9 points, the difference between them and Garden City. Moving to the Southwest, it was number 3 Kilgore who dominated number 4 Trinity Valley at home, and now they play number 11 Tyler in their final home regular season game this year. Have the Rangers built back enough trust for you to earn that number 3 spot after their home loss to Navarro, which kind of shocked everybody? And what do you want to see from them in their matchup with the number 11 Apaches this weekend?
Yeah, I think in looking at the rankings, to me, we need to be looking at the playoff picture, and I think it'd be hard to say Kilgore at this point doesn't still control their own destiny. In my opinion, if Kilgore can win out and finish the season at only 1 loss, they should be a playoff team, which to me means they should be ranked in the top 4 right now. At this point, you're only going to see, mathematically, there's only going to be 1 undefeated team in the playoffs, and that's maximum. You could, in theory, see all 4 playoff teams at 1 loss. So Kilgore definitely has an opportunity to get into the playoffs. I do think they need to remain at 1 loss. I think if they lose again this late in the season, it's probably too much for them to overcome. I think it's very unlikely, based on what we've got right now, that you're going to see a 2-loss team make the playoffs, because there are still 6 teams that are remaining that have 1 loss or less. That being said, there's just enough football left. We may end the year with only 3 teams at 1 loss. So it's a strange year where typically you're never going to see a 2-loss team make that 4-team playoff. You could theoretically see someone sneak in there this year with 2 losses, but Kilgore needs to win the game. I don't care if it's by 1 point. If they can beat number 11 ranked Tyler team and then finish the final game of the year with a win, they're in the playoff.
That's a great segue as we move to rankings. I know you have your opinion on 2-loss Snow being in that number 5 spot. But what I noticed was a Copiah Lincoln team, which has the same record as Mississippi Gulf Coast. They have more currently ranked wins than Mississippi Gulf Coast, and they beat Gulf Coast head-to-head. They're still 12 points behind them in the polls at number 7. Is that bogus in your mind? What else do you see from the rankings?
No, to me, that was the biggest thing that stood out. You read my mind about Snow. But to me, that's probably the other big failure in the polls this week. I was curious if there was some logic to that. I thought maybe one of those teams had started the season ranked significantly higher, but neither team was ranked when the season started. But there's really no way to justify that ranking at this point, where they're ranked right next to each other. One team has more quality wins, but even more importantly, the lower ranked team has a win over the higher ranked team. You need to get that switched in the voting for sure. I would keep 1 through 4 the same. I'd have Colin at 5. I'd have Gulf Coast at 6, and I'd have Trinity Valley at my 7 right now. But I'll tell you, as I look at the rankings, the one thing that does stand out to me, there's a few minor issues there, but my eye keeps going to those top 2 teams that are both undefeated. We're just inching closer and closer to that game. I'm so excited for that November 11th matchup, Iowa Western at Hutch to roll around. I can't wait to see what's going to happen now. Hopefully both teams will still be undefeated.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one for sure. And we've got Iowa Central and Iowa Western in that rivalry game this weekend as well. So potential first Iowa Western loss. I don't want to predict anything. Iowa Western's been fantastic all year, but you never know in junior college football. Thanks again, Aaron. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll have plenty more to talk about next week for sure.
Thanks, Zach.
As always, Coach, thanks so much for joining us and giving us a little more insight into the D1 football storylines. We're going to step away for a quick break, but after that, Zach talks with a former Triton student athlete who's done a lot with his career since playing for the Trojans, and the hosts of JUCO Jam. Brandon Goebel and Nick Nielsen stop by to get a little bit into those preseason rankings for basketball because it starts right around the corner. Stay tuned.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
I have a little birthday message for you from someone too.
I heard you really love basketball. You're a good shooter and a good dribbler. Happy birthday, MJ, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. Zach recently had the chance to talk with Ron Cachini, a former Triton Trojan who went on to be drafted in the MLB and has done a lot in his career since his time playing in the NJCAA.
Welcome into our JUCO Game Changers. This week we have Ron Cachini, who is a former Triton Trojan, a former Houston Astros draft pick, and current Director of Player Development with HPI in Illinois, an avid supporter of the NJCAA. So Ron, thanks for coming back, and congratulations on being the JUCO Game Changer this week.
Hey, appreciate you having me, and it's great to see you guys there from North Carolina, Zach, and we're here in chilly Illinois, but the sun's out, so excited to talk to you a little bit today about all the fun we had in junior college.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's start from that beginning. What went into the decision to attend Triton College?
Well, I tell you, our head coach, who was just a phenomenal man, Bob Simmons, was the one who recruited me out of Prospect High School, and Bob gave me the chance, and Coach Doyle continued to refine and push me as well as an assistant there. But that school was the perfect fit for me coming out of high school because I really wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. And that 2-year program allows you to kind of grow and, take some different courses and kind of find out, hey, what do you really want to do in life? And I started off in business with my minor in business and stuff. And it did pay off because now I'm a director of player development at Health Performance Institute in Mount Prospect, which is a company owned by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. And it's just allowed me to develop 2 different businesses outside of that. And again, just gave me a lot of great experience in River Grove, Illinois there.
Coach Simmons, obviously a legend there, over 1,000 wins in his time at Triton. And in that 1990 season, you got the opportunity to play in the JUCO World Series. So what was that experience like for you, getting to play on the national stage? And what do you remember from that time?
Well, the last inning win to get there in Grand Rapids was what I remember most. And that was so special to be able to get out there and fly out to Colorado and play in Grand Junction. And the teammates that I had were great guys. We still kept in touch. A lot of them had some different careers in pro game and throughout business. But I tell you, Colorado at the JUCO World Series, it was great to play in front of huge crowds. It was amazing to play in an atmosphere where the ball travels farther. That was kind of cool, driving balls far and getting a little benefit of the atmosphere there and the climate. But again, being at the hotel, I guess, too, is another favorite memory where I would get phone calls from pro scouts saying, hey, would you sign if we draft you? So that was kind of a cool thing that I wasn't really expecting. And again, it just prepared me for my pro career in front, playing in front of larger crowds and competing at a high level against some of the top players in Texas, California, and so on.
Well, I'm sure that Colorado air helped juice the stats a little bit. You end up getting drafted by the Houston Astros, have your pro career. What was it after your professional career that drew you into coaching and teaching?
Well, I always had great coaches and great mentors, and from Tim Tolman with the Asheville Tourists when I was playing in Asheville, North Carolina, to, like I said, my coaches, my teachers. I knew I wanted to get into, teaching and going back and coaching the game. And so over the years here of my career, I got into teaching physical education. I've been in District 64 Park Ridge Niles for almost, 29 years now. So I've been a PE teacher. Again, just wanted to build kids' confidence, lead an active lifestyle. And, again, changing lives, being a teacher and a coach, which like I said, I was very fortunate to have really good coaches that, helped me grow both physically and mentally, and just gave me good role. They were good role models.
Well, what is something that you learned from your time in junior college that you still carry with you today, or teach some of the kids that you have in your player development and classes?
Well, there's no doubt you have to have a great work ethic, and that has to come daily, and that's about, really about creating a good routine. So one of the things I do with all of my players and my staff is try to get them to understand it's so important to create a great routine on a daily basis, whether it's, eating well in the morning, or hydrating, or, getting your workouts in, finding time too to also take time for yourself, both spiritually and mentally, to kind of, take care of yourself so that you don't have those stressors in life take over things that you don't want to have to take over. I believe that, junior college also paved the way for me to finish my 4-year degree. It gave me, again, a sound base for doing my school and becoming a really good student athlete. And that kind of helped me when I finished my degree at DePaul University, the Blue Demons. I was real excited. I got to work with some of the girls there too in the softball program, which is just amazing too, to see the sport of softball, how it's grown. And again, it's just, that's, I think, the biggest thing that I kind of felt from junior college. It's just, it prepared me to create routines and a work ethic that helped me be successful in all walks of life.
Yeah, especially in baseball too, that JUCO mentality is grind your way back up to the top, and you certainly embodied that. Continue to do good work in Illinois. We appreciate you being an ambassador for the NJCAA, and thanks for coming on, Ron.
Hey, Zach, appreciate it, and roll Trojans, and again, can't thank you guys enough out there, and wish you all the best.
We want to give a big thank you to Ron for giving us a little bit of his time and telling his story, because not many of us get drafted by the MLB and are able to turn it into an entire career that he obviously loves so much. So thank you for giving us some of your time. All right, basketball starts next week. And obviously with basketball season comes JUCO Jam. We've got Brandon Goebel and Nick Nielsen here to give us a little sneak peek into what they think of the preseason rankings and talk about the show coming back for another season.
Thanks, Alexa. With basketball season right around the corner, we're here with our JUCO Jam hosts. It is Brandon Goebel and Nick Nielsen. Excited to talk to you guys and excited to hear the show when it comes out in a couple weeks. First, looking at the preseason polls, you've got Northwest Florida State, the runner-up last year, unanimous #1, and you have the national champs last year, John A. Logan, dropped to that 4th spot. What did you guys see about the rankings to start the year?
Man, I tell you what, when those rankings came out, I think Nick blew up my phone maybe 5 seconds later. Like, if there's anybody in the country that is more excited than Nick about the rankings dropping and ready to talk junior college basketball, I don't know who it is. But yeah, right off the bat, John A. Logan playing in that kind of #4 spot early on here. But it's so interesting because they had the best player in the country last year. They win a national championship, and it's kind of this, prove it to us again stance there. But John A. Logan should be right in the mix there. But I think pretty much everybody had Northwest Florida as that #1 preseason pick. South Plains has an argument to make there, so does Salt Lake and a couple other squads, but pretty well across the board, Northwest Florida being #1 was I think what we expected.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of thought the top 7 names would be the top 7 names. We just didn't know what order they would be released in, nor does it really matter, but they're the names who we expected to be in the top 7.
I think there's what I love about these rankings here, these very specific ones, this preseason, is that there's just a whole bunch of teams that can actually make a run at it, right? There's not really much there that you look at and say, that seems a little bit out of place. You've got Indian Hills back at number 14. Their roster is absolutely loaded, but then you go down to like Barton Community College, who might have the best point guard in the country in Mose Downing Rivers. Didn't get to play this last weekend, had a little bit of a concussion, but he's going to be fine to start the season. And then you just keep going back. Northeast Oklahoma A&M sitting there at number 23 is going to win a lot of games this year. They've got Messiah Graham. They've got the big man Belton that looks like the human form of a bowling ball. That down low. It's super, super exciting to see all these teams here. And then, you've got a team like Florida Southwestern sitting there at number 8. One of the things that Florida Southwestern has always had to kind of do is fight from the back of the pack and kind of try and move their way up. And now, like, starting in that number 8 spot is a really good opportunity for them to kind of make some noise early.
Right. And they got Des Lindsay, one of the most highly, decorated players in the country. I believe he signed early or committed early already. And then, you have names that are going to be in the mix who aren't even ranked or honorable mention at this point, right? The Harcum, the Bears, the Beast of the East. There's a good chance they're going to win their first 27 games to start the year. You have one of the elite coaches in the country, Jeremy Schulman at Eastern Florida, who, Coach Schulman is going to win basketball games. One of my favorite players in the country to watch, Owen Aquino, 6'8", kind of point forward. They're going to run the offense through him. I'm really excited to kind of see his development and where he takes his game. I'm kind of looking for a little something extra from Owen this year, but I think if he kind of buys into what Coach Schulman is trying to do, could be one of the elite players in the country.
Definitely a team for people to keep an eye on that they're not going to know a lot about is Eastern Arizona, the Gila Monsters, Cameron Turner. They've got a big man, a 7'2", Anton Bonke from Vanuatu, which is a tiny little island off of the coast of New Zealand. This is his first year of playing basketball, and I just saw him this last weekend, and he's going to be special. He's going to be one of the most sought-after bigs in the country, but Cameron's also got Rayshawn Seamster, where there's a good chance that he's going to end up leading the country in scoring. So Eastern Arizona is kind of one of those dark horse guys outside looking in right now. They're going to be fighting, with always strong Cochise and Arizona Western and the other really good programs in that league for that league title. But if they're able to kind of put everything together, they're a team that you could see in the middle of these rankings, come January.
Yeah, a 7'2" Gila Monster is not something I would want to mess with either, but appreciate both of your insight. Excited for the show, November 7th, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's when the first episode goes out. So thank you, Brandon and Nick, and we will see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon and Nick, we so appreciate you stopping by. And obviously, they love JUCO basketball, hence why they have their own show. So if you want to hear what they have to say week in and week out, obviously tune in to JUCO Jam. We're going to take another break, but outside of that, we've got rankings.
The future is threatened by enemies often unseen and unexpected. In the midst of an uncertain and evolving world, the need for Marines to defeat these shifting threats is critical, because the need to ensure stability for our nation has never been greater. When there are battles to win for America's future, there is one constant: Marines.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. Coach Aaron and Zach already talked about the D1 football rankings, so we're going to continue with D3 football. No changes. College of DuPage still leading the pack this week. In D1 men's soccer, Eastern Florida State continuing their rise up the leaderboard, moving into third. Last week's fourth-ranked team, Monroe College, drops to 8th. D2 men's soccer, CCBC Essex jumping a few spots into 5th. Mississippi Gulf Coast making a big leap from 16th last week to 12th this week. D3 men's soccer, just a few back and forth swaps this week, but a new name added to our list: Rowan College, South Jersey. D1 women's soccer, Daytona State falls from 4th to 7th. Kansas City, Kansas CC making a jump from 16th to 11th, while Hutchinson falls from 11th to 16th. D2 women's soccer, major shakeups happening. Jones College takes over the top spot, following by Phoenix, and then previous number 1 ranked Northwest Mississippi. D3 women's soccer, no changes from last week. Everyone stays put. Moving into volleyball D1, last week we saw Miami-Dade slide down the rankings a bit. This week they're right back in it in that 3rd ranked spot. D2 volleyball, Cowley County takes over the number 1 ranking from Scottsdale, and Pensacola State falls from 6th to 10th. Lansing Community College makes their debut on the board. And we finish with D3 volleyball. Monroe College Bronx jumping from 6th to 4th. Last week's 4th ranked team, Dallas College Brookhaven, falls to 7th. Sand Hills is now ranked 9th after being 5th last week. And another new name we can add to the rankings, Raritan Valley, coming in 14th. That's all I've got for rankings this week. Let's toss it over to Zach.
It's good to see some basketball polls back in the rankings. Excited to have some basketball top plays on next week's segment of JUCO Gyms. But for now, it's all football. 3 top football plays on this edition of Junior College Gyms. And we start in Mississippi with Holmes Community College and redshirt freshman quarterback John Ford, who floats this pass up to Colton DeShazo, who makes an unbelievable juggling catch, tipping it up with a right hand. And how about the focus to bring it down, reeling it in on the sideline, and Holmes would spoil Mississippi Delta's homecoming 58-6. Another Mississippi matchup saw the clutch play in crunch time. On the final play of the game, Zach Pratt picks off what would have been a game-winning touchdown and takes it 100 yards for the score. Great pressure from the D-line gets Pratt his first interception of his career to win it for the Indians 26-14. It was 20-14. That touchdown would have given Hines the lead, and instead Pratt takes it the other way and all the way to the end zone to seal it for Itawamba. Lastly, it's Big 12 football, and former Butler Grizzly Darius Lassiter plucking that pass out of the air one-handed on the sideline. Some might say that it's the best catch he's ever made, one-handed or not, but Butler CC says that's bombastic. They flashed us back to this one-handed snag he made look easy in a matchup against Hutch back in 2021. The senior at BYU has been making plays like this for a while, racking up 23 catches for 272 yards and 4 touchdowns for the Cougars this year, and he helped them win in their matchup against Texas Tech on Saturday, 27-14.
What a great way to end another round of JUCO Gems. And we love supporting NJCAA alum who are making impacts in the next stages of their careers.
Shout out to Darius Lassiter, phenomenal catch. And that wraps up JUCO Gyms and NJCAA All Access. Remember to add us on our social medias at NJCAA Network to send in more of those JUCO Gyms. And we will see you right back here a week from today.